My panel, there it is. All right, there we go. So good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Phil Knight with NextGen. I'm going to just jump over to a PowerPoint very quickly here. Really, where we're going to spend most of our time today is actually looking at the scholarship software. I'm going to give you guys the briefest of overviews about NextGen Web Solutions, a little bit of a introduction to the product, but then we're going to kind of step through some of the functionality of our scholarship management software itself. As Diana said, as you have questions, please feel free to add those via the panel, and I'll try and keep an eye on those. And then at the end, we'll certainly open it up for questions and discussion verbally. We'll open up the phone lines hopefully and be able to attack anything at that point in time. Click through. So just very briefly, who is NextGen? As Diana mentioned it, we were founded back in February of 2008. Prior to that, we formed part of the NextGen product development group at Nelnet. Nelnet being one of the larger college planning and financing companies out there. They were also one of the largest originators under the FELP loan program. We developed Scholarship Manager while still at Nelnet, and in fact have been supported at the NSPA, not only during our time as NextGen, but also for a few years before that, we were regular exhibitors at the NSPA conference. We have three main software products, our scholarship management software that we're going to look at today. We also have a work-study program. For colleges that have a work-study program, they're able to post those positions online. Students can apply for those online. And then we have a dynamic forms software as well. Many campuses and colleges are using that now to replace any paper-based forms, any PDF forms, with an electronic form that incorporates multiple electronic signatures. So if you have a form that needs a student signature, a parent signature, even a high school guidance counselor signature or faculty signature, those can all be incorporated and built very, very easily without the need for IT. But we're going to spend most of our time, as I said, looking at Scholarship Manager. We have about 300 clients nationwide across those three products, a little over 100 using our scholarship management software across the nation today. And what are we trying to do with the actual scholarship management software? Our goal really is to match students' dreams with scholarship opportunities, make it easy for them to find scholarships at the institutions or the foundations that they're looking at, make it as easy as possible then to search, and also to apply for those scholarships, to complete an online application. And then for the institution or the foundation, trying to make sure we are providing measurable benefits, reducing the hours needed to process scholarships and therefore reducing costs, getting rid of those paper applications, moving that online, getting rid of the paper review process, moving that online, and really transforming scholarships for many institutions and foundations is something of an administrative burden. Being able to reduce that administrative burden and allow you to use it, in the college perspective, more of a recruiting tool, from the college or the foundation perspective, ensuring those students we are actually graduating, completing the degrees, and then ultimately, with the tool, ensuring that you're able to measure the effectiveness of your scholarship. So having a customized reporting process that allows you to really analyze that data, looking at that data across multiple years rather than just a single year. So you can look at students that were awarded scholarships 2 or 3 years ago, check on their progress through the course of that of their time enrolled, making sure you're looking at things like GPA, that those are increasing, making sure that generally your numbers in terms of completion are going in the right direction, and again, that customized reporting, in particular that multi-year solution, are very key integral parts of our scholarship management software. We were recognized last year with one of our partners, California State University of San Bernardino. University Business Magazine has a Models of Efficiency series. I'm just going to jump over to the website real quick and pull that article up. CSUSB switched to NextGen actually back in 2009, so they've been a partner now for a few years. Prior to that, they were receiving, they had a scholarship application process, but they had about 300 students that were starting those but never completing. They viewed those as lost opportunities. they were able to switch over to NextGen, and students are now logging in, filling out the application online. Faculty are receiving emails where they're able to submit those letters of recommendation online. And key here, and this is some of the things we've seen, not just at the colleges and universities, but also the foundations that are using the software. They were able to reduce the amount of time it takes to sort out those applications and distribute them to the committee. Previously, they were waiting several weeks, the committees were, for those scholarships to be sorted, copied, and distributed. They were able to reduce that time to a single week, having moved to NextGen. So clearly, some of the things we talked about on the previous slide, we were looking to improve the efficiency of the solution. Clearly, CSU, SB were very effective by reducing the amount of time there. And then overall, some of the, one of the great lines I like about this article is that they were actually able to award their scholarships in April, which was 4 months sooner than they had been able to achieve in previous years. So clearly knocking a third of a year off of their entire process is a huge result, and clearly they're receiving an excellent return on investment with regard to the licensing of Scholarship Manager. That also enables them to be more competitive with other institutions in terms of their recruitment and retention. I mean, with retention, the reduction of that time it takes to process the scholarships, they're able to spend more time on those efforts. So really a win-win there for CSUSB. And don't forget, if you have any questions at this point, please don't forget to use the panel to submit those. A couple of things before we dive into the software itself. When we initially began developing the product, as I said, we developed this back at Nelnet, and I've been the product manager since that time. The initial request was to replace paper applications and move to an online solution. So that was our very first foray. That was probably what made up the initial beta release of Scholarship Manager. We then wanted to, or received feedback that folks wanted to automate that matching and move the review process away from paper to an online process. And then for those schools and foundations that had data about students that they wanted to incorporate into the decision-making process, we received a lot of feedback that folks wanted to be able to look at that data and import that in an automated fashion so they weren't having to ask their students for that information when they already knew it. So a lot of the drivers of the initial first couple of years with regard to what schools, what foundations were looking for, was they were really looking to make the process more efficient. Get rid of that manual paper, get rid of that manual lookup of additional information, get rid of that manual copying and distribution of those qualified candidates to their committee members. Now, cost efficiency, although that line at the top stops halfway across, it really does continue, but it has become less of a driver than we had in the first few years. What we've seen more now in the last couple of years, and what drove us to actually develop a multi-year solution, is the fact that schools and foundations do want to see that they are effectively using their scholarships, that their retention goals are being met, that scholarships that are being directed perhaps to specific demographics are reaching those, that their marketing campaigns are being effective. And so implementing that multi-year solution back in 2011-12 really gave us the ability to do that and to accommodate that. And we're continuing to see a drive for additional reporting, being able to look at that data across those years, and we see that push for additional data mining capabilities as being something that is going to continue. We pride ourselves on a complete solution with Scholarship Manager. So with NextGen, you're not just getting the software. You're going to be working with a crack team of staff, quite frankly. I'm very blessed and privileged to work with some of the folks I do. And we pride ourselves on the customer service. So not necessarily just when you are a new customer, a new client, and giving you all that attention up front. It's something we pride ourselves right on throughout the duration of our relationship. So you'll find that we do provide excellent customer service as well as the product, and we would encourage anyone considering NextGen to talk to our clients. They will tell the story better than we ever can. Brian at Keene University, receiving several compliments about the process and enjoying the customer service. Jolene, one of our foundation clients at Iowa Lakes Community College, enjoying some of the enhancements that we've rolled out. George Fox on the West Coast. Again, the scholarship manager fills some of the gaps that they were unable to actually get through their ERP. And then a couple more comments there specifically about the fact that it's a product that continues to improve. Our clients drive the software. We engage our clients on a regular basis. We want to understand from them, where the gaps are, where we need to improve the software, what additional features and functionality they would like to see. And so we engage them. We have them involved in pilot processes. We have them involved in testing, and really they drive the direction of the product. So it's clear to see there from just some of those quotes that it is a product that continually improves, and that is down to our fantastic client base. All right, very quickly, a brief visual overview of Scholarship Manager. I am a very visual person, so this helps me get an understanding of how the process works, and hopefully it will help you guys too. On the left side, we have the applicant. We're trying to make it as simple as possible for them so they can search for scholarships. They don't have to create an account. They can customize that search process. They can just look at all the scholarships have available. They can customize the search process and look at scholarships that closely match their profiles. They can enter if they're a graduate or undergraduate student, what they're studying, what their interests are. And again, we customize that search process for students and for your scholarship. So it's not a generic search that is the same for every single client we have. It is customized for each and every client we have. And then from their perspective, again, trying to make it as easy as possible for those students to apply for scholarships. They can submit a single application. If your business process drives that you would like to have multiple applications, for example, some of our foundations serve very specific geographic areas and want to have different applications for those geographic areas rather than just different, distinguishing that by question. They want to have a different application altogether. You can do that. Some of our institutions may have a scholarship application that's generic in nature, but then the departments, they have some departments on campus that want to insist on their own specific application. You can do that as well. So you're not restricted to a single application. You have the flexibility for a single or the flexibility for multiple applications. It's really your business process that is going to drive how you use that part of the site. And then data files from the school system or the foundation. If you have data on students, their GPA, their academic department, their major, maybe they've submitted essays separately, we can actually load that data into Scholarship Manager so we're not having to have the student self-report that information when we already know it. And finally, again, just one more thing, trying to make it as easy as possible for the students, simplifying the letters of recommendation process. They just have to enter the recommender's name and email address into the site. They are not having to track that down, go, bring in those separate letters of recommendation on a piece of paper to the office. It's all handled electronically. Very simple for the student, extremely simple for the recommender themselves, and clearly for the school or the foundation that's handling those letters of recommendation. You're not having to match them up to applications. They are matched to the student's profile as soon as those are submitted electronically. So left side, very simple for the student. Right side, we've got our scholarship requirements or our scholarship profiles. As administrators, you're able to go in and add all of those multiple scholarships to the system. So the music scholarship, for example, perhaps you're looking for students that are in the music major that have a GPA of 3.5. Perhaps they even need to upload a music audio file as part of the application. By way of contrast, the local credit union scholarship, for example, perhaps the student just needs to be a member of that credit union and have submitted an essay about their career aspirations. All those different requirements are added to the system. And then where the system really comes together is that automated matching process. So we're going to identify every single scholarship that each and every student qualifies for based upon their unique profile. Then you can establish different committees. So for example, if you're at a school, you have a financial aid committee that's logging in. They are only going to see the 3 scholarships that they are responsible for reviewing. They only see the 19 students that qualify for that NEED scholarship, the 25 that qualify for the merit, and the 65 that qualify for the general. Music department, again, only sees their scholarships and the kids that qualify for those. For the foundations, you can actually set it up if you have, 2 or 3 large scholarships that really a lot of people qualify for. You can establish it so that, your committees see all of those candidates that qualify for those, and work at it that way. And then you can also have, if you maybe have a smaller scholarship, where your committee members don't need to see quite as much data about the student as part of the decision-making process. Not only can you restrict what scholarships your committees are responsible for reviewing, you can also restrict the data that they're able to see. So for different scholarships, for different committees, not only are we restricting the scholarships, we're also restricting that data that they're able to see. So great from a security perspective, also great from the perspective of keeping people focused. And the final area that brings it all together really is that custom report section out here. We can generate reports that are very specific to your needs, pulling back just the data that you're looking for. Those reports can look at information across multiple academic years. So as I said, you can look at a report of identifying students that were awarded renewable scholarships 2 or 3 years ago, verify that they've gone to completion. If you've had a campaign for your local high schools or regions, you can look at, create those reports and run those reports that show you every student that submitted an application from those high schools, so you're able to verify the effectiveness of those campaigns. And we can run reports on the scholarships, on the students, and even on the awarding process. So those custom reports are key to the system of bringing it all together. If you have a question at this point, please add it to the panel. From here in a second, we're actually going to dive into the software product itself. But I'll take a brief pause just to give any folks that do have a question about what they've heard so far, just to key that into the panel.
Phil, it doesn't look like we've got any questions quite yet, but again, as a reminder to folks, you can submit that using your webinar console. There should be an orange or red colored arrow in the upper right corner of your computer screen, and you can use that to expand and collapse that console, and there should be an option in there for it should say questions or chat. Type those in and we'll get those answered.
Thanks, Diana. All right, so what I've brought up here on your screen now is what you see is a demo version of our scholarship management software. This has a next-gen look and feel to it. When we do implement a client, be it a school or foundation, we are going to give this software a similar look and feel to your website. So we'd have maintain the header and the footer of your individual website. So it is going to continue with that marketing message that you're trying to get out to your applicants. So it will have the same look and feel. We can also link to your Facebook page, Twitter feeds, if you're using that social media to educate students about upcoming deadlines and really just keep them engaged with your scholarship process. There are several areas in the site where we can update that type of messaging and make sure that the student is being linked to that social media and those pages. As I said, students can search for scholarships. They can customize that search. When they do search, they can look for scholarships that are specific to their particular profile, or they can just view all of the scholarships in the system. And presentation-wise, results-wise, we're really keeping it nice and simple, giving them access to the name of the scholarship, the description. If the scholarship happens to have a website that is associated with it, we can link the student to that website. We can also educate the students about your donors. So you can build out these very quick donor profiles, have a photograph of them, a couple of paragraphs, and again, if the donor happens to have a web page, we can link the students to that web page to help really market and advertise the great work that those donors are doing and how they're helping those students achieve success. Indeed, they can click on the All Donors and see all the different donors that we have available in the system. Once a student searches for scholarships, you'll note that they don't have to identify and apply for individual scholarships. They can just click on the Apply Now link. That's going to take them into wherever we host a link to create their account, and then they'll be able to actually go in and complete their application. We're going to log in very quickly as a student and take a look at an example application. Again, through the implementation process, what we're going to do is we're going to work with you to identify everything that we need to ask of the student in our online application. We're going to help you build out that application. You have full control over it. You have control over the questions that are in there, over the sections, over the flow. So if you're building out your application, you decide that something you have on page 1 is going to fit better with page 3, you can cut and paste that entire section and move it to page 3. So it's a really super easy application building tool. You don't need to have technical ability to go through it, and we can certainly help, and we do help through that implementation process. Now your applicants log in. They're going to see this welcome message. You can update this on a regular basis, annually, weekly, daily, however frequently you wish. And then they'll see the applications that they have available. Indeed, we've built out a frequently asked questions, an FAQ page, trying to avoid some of those phone calls coming into the office, get that information out in front of the students nice and early. Here we have a due date. We've got around 13, 14 weeks to get this completed. And our next action here is to continue the application. Nice, big, obvious buttons that work very well with iPad, for example. Those are out there. This is page 1 of the application. We have some schools that have a 20-page application. Some of our foundations have a 3-page application. Some actually don't have an application at all. They're just importing data. But as we scroll down, you'll see that we can require questions. We can capture short information. The help tips are very easy to add to the system as well. You have full control over those. You can have the students select multiple options. And again, all these lists that we're seeing here are actually controlled by you, and they're going to be custom to your institution, to your foundation. Indeed, here the high school drop-down where the student is able to select one from a list. Again, that's a custom list. We're also capturing numeric information. Diana, is there a question out there? I can't see the question, but I'm seeing an indicator that we have a question that's pending.
There is, Phil, from Ira. Is the scholarship manager primarily for colleges, or could a scholarship organization also use this software?
Scholarship organizations also use the software. We have a lot of foundations that use it. I think probably most of our clients are indeed colleges or universities, but we've got several foundations that we'd be happy to put you in touch with. New Hampshire Foundation being one that springs to mind that I've got a phone call with this afternoon. They've been using it out in Hawaii. So yes, we've got several foundations that use the software as well.
Great, thanks, Phil.
We're going to save and continue to page 2. It does exactly what you'd expect. It saves the students' information at that point, so they are able to log out and log back in. They can complete that application over a period of time. If you require that your students upload attachments as part of the application, that is just another question type. Here we're asking them for a copy of their resume. Second one, we're asking them to upload an audio file. If you require 10 different attachments, you can have 10 different questions on that application. You are not restricted to 2 or 3 attachments as part of your application. It really is just another question type. If you prefer they just copy and paste their essays into the essay style question, you can also do that. In the event you do choose that option, you can then also control the minimum and maximum word count of those essays. We're jumping over to page 3. This is where we actually incorporate the letters of recommendation. I'm going to go ahead and here and send a reminder email. Just click through OK. So the students simply enter the name and email address of the recommender. They never see that recommendation. It remains entirely confidential, but they can see if the recommender has been out and visited the site, and they can send reminder emails as I just did and prompt them to come back and actually submit their recommendation. So nice simple process for the students and super easy for your recommenders. And then when we get to the summary page, if we've missed any required questions, the student's going to be prompted to go back and complete those answers. So in this case, it's a school application. We missed an ID. We need to go back and complete that answer and then go back to the summary page. This time our warning message has gone away. We do indeed have, or we're still actually, as best we can, encouraging the student to scroll down and verify their information before they submit, verify the answers are indeed correct, and they've answered them to the best of their capability. So the student can scroll down see that information. The answers stand out very clearly from the questions. Once they have decided they're ready to go, though, they can indeed submit that application. The confirmation page, again, on the administrative side, this is something you guys control. I've also, again, got a link out there to the FAQ page. But in this case, this is an example where you may have multiple applications that you want to direct the student to. So maybe they're initially submitting their general application, and then you want to submit them to either a college application, college specific, or if you're a foundation, you have, as I said, we have a couple that have different regional applications. You can then direct the student to those additional applications if need be. Alternatively, you can just spell out to them what happens next. And so some of the options we have with Scholarship Manager, students can receive an email. They can log into the site and review their award information. If you require that students accept or decline scholarships, you can do that through the site. And indeed, you can also require that students submit thank you letters via the site. Most of our foundations will actually have their students upload a physical thank you letter, be it a Word or a PDF document, rather than an email. They then, at the foundation, will go through and review those thank you letters. And if they decide that they are acceptable, they can forward them on to the donor. If they determine that for whatever reason they're not acceptable, that there is a process whereby you can reject that thank you letter and send it back to the student, along with specific recommendations as to what they need to change in order for that thank you letter to be deemed satisfactory. I'm going to go ahead and log out, jump over very quickly to email. The student does receive an email once they've submitted their application. In this case, we've made it exactly the same as that confirmation page, just to reinforce the message. And then the other email that we have here that we're going to take a look at, this is the email that the recommender received. Again, you at the administrative side are controlling this entire text and body of this email. It wouldn't have a next-gen header, that's just proof of concept. We'd have a header in there from your organization. And the recommender simply has to click on the link, and they're then taken directly into that letter recommendation template for that individual student. You're controlling the welcome message. Again, we built out a page that provides some additional definitions for the recommenders to consider as they're providing their feedback. And then we have contact information of the recommender, the student, the application they're being considered for. If they wish to decline, they can do. Maybe they don't recognize that student, or they recognize them too well and decide they don't want to actually submit a positive letter recommendation. They can indeed decline, and in the event they do that, the student will receive an email letting them know that they have declined, and in that event they'll be able to add an additional recommender to their application. Assuming they want to continue, you can build out this letter recommendation template a couple of different ways. We have an initial section of several open-ended questions, and here you're controlling the question. So this first one, place of employment, title, phone number, and you've asked them here to just write a simple short answer. Second question, the selecting all that apply. Again, you're controlling the question and the different options. The other option answer type you have is where they're selecting a single option for the answer. Again, though, you're controlling the question. And then finally, in this opening section, we've got the longer essay-style answers. And again, you're controlling the question and what the answer style is there. So first section, open-ended questions, your choice of question and answer. Second section, you're building out a grid. Again, you're controlling that question. And all the recommender has to simply do is check the appropriate radio buttons. You're also controlling the options across the top of the column headings, as well as the categories on the left-hand side of which you're asking for feedback. So nice and easy for the recommenders to complete that process, and they can add optional details in the area shown. If you choose not to require the details, that area will not show. And then finally, the summary evaluation, again, you control the question and the options. If you just want to use the open-ended questions and neither of the ranking options, you can do that. You can use the open-ended, the main ranking grid, but not the summary grid. You have that option as well. So you're not tied to using all three sections. But it's a nice, simple process. As soon as that recommender goes in and submits that and saves that recommendation, it is immediately attached to the student's answers and available to your committees that are reviewing those applications. So at this point, we've searched for scholarships. Our applicants have been in and submitted their applications. Our recommenders have been in. Before we dive into the committee members section, where we're going to review those scholarships and talk through some of the features and functionality there, it looks like we might have another question, Diana.
Yes, we do. From Deshandra, she's asking if the student is allowed to submit more than one recommender for the letter of recommendation piece.
Absolutely, they can. Let me log back in as a student here real quick. That's not a student, hang on, wrong credentials. I'm going to go back to my recommendations page, and you'll see here that I've got 2 recommenders I've already submitted. One has been completed. This is the one here that we just submitted. We can see that the recommender visited the form 3 minutes ago, but has not yet submitted. And then here's the space for an additional recommender. They can typically add up to 3 recommenders. If you need them to add a different set of recommenders, maybe for one recommendation question, for example, you want it to be somebody at the school, a teacher or a high school guidance counselor, but then for another recommendation, you're really looking for feedback from someone outside of that area. Maybe somebody involved with a student has been providing or working with some local communities, providing some kind of, or experiencing some kind of community service. You can just have a different question with a different set of recommendations and use a different template for that. So typically up to 3 recommendations for the single recommendation question, but indeed you can have more than 1 recommendation question as part of the application.
Thanks, Phil. And we've got another question in here from Beckley, who asks if a recommender can upload a letter instead of answering questions about the applicant within the form.
With the recommendation process, the way we have it today, typically our recommenders are going in and using that template. There is not the availability for them to actually upload an attachment. What they can do is you can use these longer answers here, and they can copy and paste those attachments into this area, which still means it gets attached to the student's profile. Alternatively, the other option for that is that the student could upload a letter of recommendation attachment as part of their application process. In the event they do that, clearly it's not a confidential recommendation, as they will have seen it, but in most cases the students have likely seen that anyway. It is something we're looking at adding, but today we're using that template, or as I said, recommenders copying and pasting using those longer answers into the area that I've got highlighted on the screen right now.
Thanks, Phil. And it looks like that is all the questions we've got for right now.
All right, let's dive in. As I said, we've searched, we've applied, our recommenders have been in. Let's kind of go in as a committee member now. So we've matched, the system has matched all of the students, it's looked at all the student profiles, all of those scholarship requirements, it's identified every single scholarship that all these different students apply for. Your committee members are logging in now. When they do log in, if I can remember my password. When they do log in, they're brought to the committee homepage. You have control over this content. You can indeed, update this message, have your own welcome message. You can update the latest news here if you're trying to get information out in front of your committee members. And you'll notice down here we have a copy of the decision maker guide. That's going to help them through the features and functionality of this page. When they click on My Committees, they're going to see that guide again. But importantly here, this is where we see all the different scholarships that we are the different committees that I'm a member of. We're going to jump into this NSPA committee. And here we have the different scholarships that we're responsible for reviewing. We can see the scholarships that have been awarded, our balance so far. So we know we've still got some work to do to complete our awarding process. We're going to take a look at this Bank of America scholarship. Here's the name of the scholarship, the description, our fund amounts. We have up to $25,000 that can be awarded for this scholarship. And then we have lower down, after we have the minimum and maximum individual amounts, we have our hard and our soft requirements. The hard requirements are just that. That is what we use to identify those students that qualify for the scholarship. So they are hard and fast requirements. If a student has a 2.49 GPA, they are not going to qualify for this particular scholarship. And so let's say we had 1,000 applications. We've looked at these hard requirements, and that is how we've gotten down to our list of just 31 qualified candidates for this scholarship. Our soft requirements are a little bit of a different flavor. They allow us to objectively sort that list of 31 candidates and get the ones that meet the additional preferred requirements of the donor to the top of the list. So in this event, if the students are on the swim team, they can get 10 points. If they're a transfer student, 5, athlete 5, and 5 if they went to high school in Colorado. So they can achieve up to a total of 25 points. And then you can see here in the soft match column, Mary got 20 out of 25 or 80%. And as we scroll down lower, Russ got 40%, Shirley got 20%. So we've gotten the preferred candidates truly to the top of the list. Now, Scholarship Manager also does support renewable scholarships. So if you are awarding a scholarship that's available to the students over the entire duration of the college, so a 4-year renewable scholarship, we can support that. And each year, the student, once you've awarded initially, they will appear as a candidate. You'll be able to very quickly verify that they've maintained, for example, their GPA, they're still enrolled, and then go in and confirm that award. So that is, no extra charge or anything like that. That is part of the standard process. If the scholarship is not indeed a renewable scholarship, then you would not actually see this section. But scroll down very quickly. Let's talk about this grid that we have here. Very, very functional grid. Really, the way we see a lot of our foundations and schools use this is, in this case we've got 31 candidates. If we're looking to have a first pass, and rather than go into their application in full detail, what you may want to do is just compare those students across specific data. So for this particular scholarship committee, we have given the committee access to the student information options. So let's say they want to look at the student's academic department, maybe their EFC, their GPA, maybe even what sports they participate in. We have about 50 or 60 different data points here that we can add to that grid and then do a quick side-by-side comparison rather than going into each application in full. So you can add as many of those points as you wish, then it just appends to the grid. And if you want to export that information to Microsoft Excel, you can do that as well with just a couple of very quick clicks and immediately have an Excel report that you can then share with others if you wish. So super flexible ability or capabilities there. And indeed, those same, if we scroll down here and look at the display preferences again, I'm just going to clear out these options here just to save some real estate. If you count them, we've got about 50 or 60 different data points that can be added to the grid. Again, super flexible, very nice way for your committee members to come in and be able to get to just the data they want, maybe, as I said, for their first pass. When they click on the student's name, they go to their application page level. When they do that, they're able to see the same data points but from an application perspective. So here is all that same information. Here's information we imported. Here's our financial needs section. Some of our memberships. Here's our essays that were added. And indeed, the letters of recommendation are lower down as well. We can see all that letter of recommendation information. You can also print off PDFs. If you have folks that just like to print off a PDF and take it with them to Starbucks rather than their iPad or the computer, they can do that. And in this case, again, because this committee is pretty global, they have about the PDF that generates out of this committee is about 5 or 6 pages. By way of compare and contrast very quickly, in fact, I'm just going to open this in a new tab. If we go into the music department scholarship committee and into their scholarship, you'll notice that what we've actually done is we've actually fixed the view for this committee. So they are always going to see the music interview score status and they have access to that attachment. We don't even give this committee access to that display preferences area. So you have some options there. Going back to that grid, once your committees are actually ready to show their evaluation options or add their feedback about students, they can show the evaluation options. For this committee, we're asking for feedback on the student's personal statement, the student rating. And here the personal statement is 1 through 5, simple drop down. The student rating is 1 through 10. And we're asking for general comments about the student's application. Again, by way of compare and contrast on the music department scholarship, we've developed a separate scoring rubric for the music department. We're asking them to rank or rate the student's solo performance. And here we've got a simple 1 through 5, but clearly it is very specific to that audio file that they've uploaded. And then we've asked them to identify the top 5 choices for the scholarship. So different scoring rubrics for different committees are also a capability of Scholarship Manager. You can add your comments at this page level, or when you go down to the student's application, you can also add them at the page level here, and then just navigate through from one candidate to the next, or go to a specific candidate if you wish to do that.
Phil, we've got a question here from Jolene, who wants to know a little bit more about processing renewals, and if you're able to ask students to upload an update letter or transcript in order to renew their scholarship.
Absolutely. In terms of the upload, let's tackle that one first. They can upload that information just as part of any application. So we've got a couple of schools that have a specific, and foundations I should say, that have a specific renewable application. So once they've been awarded, you can just send them a link the next year to just that application, and one of the questions on there might be the transcript, for example. Now when we're ready to award these scholarships, let's actually go through and award this particular scholarship here and step through the renewal process real quick. So we're going to award this scholarship. We're just selecting the students that we want to give that money to. Click on award, select the candidates. By the way, the committee chairs have the ability to see the comments and rankings of all your committee members, so they get that global overview of what everybody thought about a candidate. You don't have to be an administrator to do that. Your committee chairs have the ability to do that. This particular scholarship was defined as a 4-year renewable scholarship, so that is the default when we initially award it. If you have transfer students coming in, though, maybe you want to reduce to 2 or even a 1-year scholarship, you can do that at that time. If the default is a 2-year renewable scholarship, clearly, the 2-year would be what populated the very first time. Fall or spring is part of the setup. If you have disbursements through the year, we can accommodate that. If you just have an annual amount, though, you wouldn't even see the fall or spring options as part of that release. So we're going to save that award information. Very quickly now, we can easily identify those students that are awarded renewable scholarships. We can see down here, Emily was not. She does not have that renewable icon. And so these are our valid renewable scholarship students that are going to be eligible for subsequent years. I'm going to log out very quickly as an admin, as a decision maker. I want to log in as an administrator and just talk a little bit about multi-year, and then show you the process for the subsequent year of the renewable scholarships. In fact, let me just award one additional student real quick to that same scholarship. You do need to remember your, you do need to make sure that you enter the right credentials, excuse me. I want to award just one more student this particular scholarship, this guy. Okay, we'll just give $1,000 there. So that's confirmed. We're going to log out to the decision maker and log back in as an admin. And we're coming up to the hour here, so I want to cover a couple of things real quick. So that renewable question was a perfect timing. When your administrators log in, the difference you see here, as opposed to the students and the committee member screens, is this academic year banner. So you'll define your academic or your financial year. You'll give it a name. In this case, we've called it academic year, or you might just call it financial year 2013. It's absolutely flexible. When you're through your initial year, so you've already created your applications, your scholarships, you've gone through your awarding process. When you're ready to get things set up for your next academic year, you can just come in and create that new academic year. What that's going to do, it's going to copy over all of your applications. It's going to copy over all of your scholarships, all of your committees set up. You can choose if you want to pre-fill student answers or not. Again, that's going to simplify things for your student bodies that are, they're coming in and creating or submitting new applications in subsequent years. Now what we're doing, this process is very quick. We're not archiving information. You're not having to contact us now if you need an application from 2 years or 3 years ago. We're separating that data by academic year. When you're ready to work in subsequent years, you just choose which year you want to work in. If it's a non-default year, you'll see the academic year banner changes to red, and we know we're not working. So we can be closing out awarding in 13-14 while beginning our setup or even opening our application for 14-15. We're going to take this NSPA committee. It's copied over all of our committee members. It's copied over all the scholarships that they're responsible for reviewing. And we're just going to rename it now to 14-15. Here you can see everybody that's a committee member, and those are the committee chairs. You can see the scholarships they're responsible for reviewing, and then we've got some options here in terms of the display preferences, the data that you're letting them see, that type of thing. But we're going to open up this committee right now as well for our renewable scholarships for the subsequent year. Super easy to do. Logging out now as an administrator and back in as a decision maker. Now that we've made that subsequent year available, when your decision makers log in, they will be able to see that the renewable scholarships that are available to them. So this time when they click on My Committees, we actually have 2 years that are available to us. We've only opened up the one committee, but we're going to go into 14-15. And even though we haven't had any applications submitted yet, we already see we've got 5 candidates because those are our renewable candidates. When we expand that list, we can quickly see all those renewable candidates that are eligible. If we want to view the details and see if they actually have qualified or not, we can quickly do that. In this case, we've not imported data or we've not had any additional application information submitted. So right now we can see that they don't qualify, but you can assume that once we've got that additional data next year, this will be a green check and they would see that information. We're going to close that out. When you're ready to confirm, we confirm these 3, for example. We can just confirm those installments. It moves along, pre-fills the same amount, but now you can see we're going to installment 2 of 4, 2 of 3. It's moved along one automatically. And again, we didn't have to track those guys separately outside of the system. They are being tracked inside the system. And if we want to revoke somebody, let's say Lauren did not enroll this year, we could actually enroll or revoke Lauren's scholarship. That's going to ensure that she is not eligible this year and also will not be considered for the scholarship next year. And we track that reason and who actually completed the revoke. Hopefully that helped answer the question about renewable scholarships. Are there any more questions out there, Diana, before I move along?
Yes, there's one more, again from Ira, who wants to know about changing award amounts in a case if they're raising or lowering the amount of their scholarship from year to year. Is there that capability within the NextGen system?
Absolutely. With the renewable scholarships, it will pre-fill from the amount of the first year, but when you actually go into the award, we can come in and I'm going to modify this installment rather than just go in and confirm it. And so the subsequent year, we can just give Phil 500 bucks instead of 1,000. We can make that change. Also, you'll notice, generally speaking, we have a minimum and maximum amount. That is tied to this particular academic year. If that amount changes next year, we can change that. It would have no impact on the previous year. And then typically our schools and foundations, the overall fund amount, that changes on an annual basis based on interest rates and everything else. That is something that will typically be sent to us via a file and updated on a regular basis. But if you do have a change in amount that you need to just go in and change for an individual scholarship, you would have access to make those changes as and when you needed to. Back as an admin real quick. I want to just look at a couple more things before our hour comes up. Applicant Snapshot is a great tool if you want to look up individual students and see how they've interacted with the site. We can find that student. As part of that process, you can even become that student. So if they call you and say, hey, I'm having problems with page 3 of the application, you can find them and then become that student and see everything that they're seeing. We can also go into the snapshot itself. Here I can see the applications that student has submitted. I can reopen or extend individual deadlines. I can see all the scholarships that those kids qualify for. And if there's a fund balance available, if I'm looking to try and find a scholarship for an individual student, quickly see there's a fund balance and navigate over to that page and perhaps award them that scholarship. If they were having to be removed from consideration for a scholarship, I can see that here too. Student will never see that, but it's great research information. And then also here I can see for the award information, all the scholarships they were awarded, if they've accepted the scholarship application, the scholarship award, and if they've completed a thank you letter. In this case, both of those actually are incomplete, so they're both pending. On the admin homepage, if we want to go to scholarships real quick, we took a look at that Bank of America scholarship that had a hard criteria of a 2.5 GPA. Let's say that those 31 candidates is just too many and you want to change that criterion from a 2.5 to a 3.8 and see what that does for your numbers. All of these criteria on the right-hand side that I'm scrolling through right now, this is quite a big list because it's our demo site, but these are all going to be custom to your institution, to your foundation when we build out the site. And so there's not going to be anything that doesn't make sense. We can quickly go from a 2.5 to a 3.8. Save and return to scholarship. Matching runs instantly. We've gone from 31 candidates to 14. So if you can imagine how long that would take you to do with a traditional or paper process or even just an Excel spreadsheet, it is now super, super quick to run through and make those changes. Great tool if you're working with donors on new scholarships and they're suggesting some criteria. You can add those to a scholarship and just say, hey, this is what it does for our numbers and doesn't necessarily make sense. Can we actually go in and make those changes? Here we've just added ACT composite score, so we've gone from 31 to 14 to 6 candidates. Perhaps you want to merge them so they were capturing either a GPA or an ACT composite score. Oops. We can do that as well and merge them. Again, save and return to scholarship, matching report performs instantly, and we're already back up to 17 candidates. So super quick. If you get a new scholarship that comes in that's similar to an existing, you can just copy that existing scholarship. You're not having to go in and recreate the wheel. And then one of the other items we talked about right up front, key to the system, particularly with the ability to look at information across multiple academic years, we can customize these reports for you. Let's say you want to provide an award export to your donors. We can choose that report, choose which year we want to run it in, load the report. As this one's by donor, we're going to have to choose the donor we're running this for, and then we can simply run that report. And here's all the information we have in there. If you need additional information added to this report, perhaps you had the students answer a question about career aspirations again that you wish to provide that feedback to the donor, we can just incorporate that answer into this report. So you have it. And then again, as with every report in the system, a couple of clicks, that information is now available to you in Microsoft Excel. So you can actually use it for a mail merge, send that report directly to the donor. But every single report runs instantly and is available to you in Microsoft Excel. You're not having to wait 15 minutes. And it is specific to, and in terms of providing just the data that you're looking for. Other report examples, maybe a high school breakdown. You want to get an understanding of the local high schools after you've had a campaign. Here we can see the applications we received from those high schools. Maybe we want to look at who those actual applicants are, because we want to reach out to them. Again, nice and simple to run that report. You just select it, and here we've got now information, email addresses about those students. We can actually use that and send an email out to those particular students. So we have a whole series of reports that you can run. Scholarships with a fund balance. Again, if we want to pick a different year, we can do. So you can really use this to identify trends and differences and effectiveness of campaigns over multiple years. So it's a crucially important tool to the in conjunction with that multi-academic year approach that we have, and to making sure that you're using your scholarships and the system effectively. Now I know we've set aside an hour. We could clearly carry on for a couple of hours. There is a lot of customizable features and functionality within this site. It's something that continues to improve. Indeed, we have a new release coming out this Monday with some additional new features and functionality. But I know we're right at the hour, and I want to be. I know Diana's got plenty to do to prepare for the upcoming conference. Are there any other additional questions at this time that we can cover?
Phil, there aren't any other questions right now, but again, I encourage you all to type those in real quick and we'll get them answered in the next couple of minutes. I also want to let you all know that Phil will have a booth at the upcoming conference. So if you would like to follow up with him in person, definitely stop by his booth during the conference. He has also just posted his contact information if you want to learn more about how the NextGen system can be customized to meet the needs of your organization. And Phil, it looks like we have got a few more questions in here. Jennifer would like to know generally what your service fee is, or if you can give a sort of range of that.
We have actually a tiered pricing structure that accounts for different size institutions and foundations. So Jennifer, if you'd like to send me an email offline, or anybody would, I'd like to chat with you and go over that. But it's generally as I said, it's tiered and structured to account for the smaller foundations or the larger institutions. But yeah, let's take that offline. If you'd send me an email, I'd be more than happy to send you that information.
Great, thanks, Phil. We've got another question from Deshandra, interested in knowing more about if there's a certain format in which students have to upload their documents, or is it sort of left open?
There is not. We actually developed that with a media college in Chicago, and they are using it to upload video files, audio files, as well as more traditional, text files, Word and PDF. So right now there is no limit. We're actually going to introduce functionality on the administrative side, so you can say for particular questions it must be, for example, an audio file. But right now there is not a restriction as to the type of the file that can be uploaded. Clearly, that upload process, we scan that file, put it through virus check, that type of thing. But there's no limit in terms of the file type that can be uploaded as part of that attachment question.
And I'm guessing, Phil, that if an organization would prefer a specific file type, whether it's a Word document or PDF, that they can state that in the application instructions.
Absolutely, correct. Yep.
So.
They can have that as a label, they can add it as a hint, or both, so they can clearly get that message to the students. Yep.
Great. And as I'm sure we all know, it's a great lesson in instruction following for students. And our next question comes from Beckley, who would like to know a little bit more about the implementation process. I'm guessing she's asking sort of about getting started with NextGen and all of that.
Absolutely. The implementation is something that the typical time frame runs around 6 to 8 weeks. That's not necessarily where somebody is spending 40 hours a week on that. If it was, we'd be very quickly out of business. But we're going to work with you. You'd work with a gal called Chris, who is absolutely fabulous. She was at Nelnet for years, the project manager. She is our main implementation guru. She's implemented well over 100 different schools and foundations, has a great understanding of all the different processes and opportunities for improvement. So we're going to look at all your scholarships with you, your past applications, all of the different scholarship requirements, and help you build out, identify what we need to have on that application, help you build out that application, help you create those scholarships, those different requirements as we did, and really step you through that entire process. She's going to set up a kickoff meeting, tell you who to invite, work with you to go through the different tasks and milestones that are involved as part of the application, and indeed set you guys homework. But you'll find that she'll be there every step of the way, and we really want to make sure that you are getting the most out of the system. But we also want you to have the abilities, if you want to make a change, to be able to go in and make that change yourselves and not necessarily have to rely on us and give us a call. So fabulous way to get going is to work with Chris. But yeah, average 6 to 8 weeks is the implementation time frame. We've done it in as little as 4 weeks. We've also overhauled processes for some institutions and spent significantly longer on the process.
Great, thanks, Phil. And I can't remember off the top of my head, will Chris be at the conference as well?
Chris will be at the conference, yes. You'll have the chance to meet Chris in Portland here in a few weeks.
Yes, so you can meet both Phil and Chris at the conference. They're very friendly people, and I know they'd be happy to tell you more about NextGen and all of the benefits of that system. I don't see any other questions right now. Phil's contact information is listed there, so feel free to give him a call or send him an email, and he can answer those offline. Phil, thank you so much for presenting this information today and walking us all through the NextGen system. Thank you for your support of the NSPA and for all the work you do to help scholarship providers make their processes a little more efficient. And everyone, all of our attendees, thank you for participating today. Don't hesitate to contact Phil if you have any questions. And everyone have a great day.
Thanks, Diana. We'll see you and everybody else hopefully in a few weeks. Take care.
Great.
Bye-bye.